On October 12, 1997, one of America's most beloved voices lifted off from the Monterey Peninsula Airport and never returned. John Denver, the man who sang about mountains, open skies, and the freedom of flight, died alone in the cockpit of an experimental aircraft he had purchased only weeks earlier. Tonight, we retrace the final days, the final decisions, and the final moments that led to the crash of John Denver's Long EZ and the discovery of his body in the waters of Monterey Bay. John Denver, born Henry John Duchendorf Jr., grew up the son of a U.S. Air Force pilot. Aviation wasn't just a hobby. It was part of his identity. His father taught him to fly in 1976, helping repair a strained relationship between them. By the 1990s, Denver had logged over 2,700 flight hours and owned multiple aircraft. He was considered a capable, experienced pilot. But in 1997, he set his sights on something different, a sleek, experimental, home-built aircraft known as the Rutan Long EZ. The Long EZ was no ordinary plane. Designed by Burt Rutan, it featured a canard configuration, a small forward wing instead of a tail. It was fast, efficient, and popular among home builders. But it also required specialized training and familiarity. Denver purchased the aircraft, registration N555JD, only 2 weeks before the crash. He had logged just 2.5 hours in this specific model, and this particular Long EZ had been modified by its builder, Adrian Davis. Some of those modifications would prove fatal. Investigators later discovered that the fuel selector valve, the control that switches between fuel tanks, had been placed behind the pilot's left shoulder, instead of in front where it belonged. To reach it, Denver would have needed to twist around and unbuckle his seatbelt mid-flight. He had even complained about this to a technician shortly before takeoff. The NTSB would later conclude that this design flaw, combined with Denver's lack of transition training in the Long EZ, created a deadly chain of events. At 5:28 p.m., Denver took off from Monterey Peninsula Airport for what was supposed to be a short, casual flight over the bay. Witnesses later reported seeing the aircraft climb normally, then suddenly bank sharply, followed by a steep, uncontrolled descent. The Long EZ plunged into the Pacific Ocean just off Pacific Grove. There was no distress call, no sign of mechanical failure, only silence. The impact was catastrophic. The aircraft hit the water nose first at high speed, breaking apart instantly. Rescue teams arrived quickly, but there was nothing to save. Denver's body was recovered from the wreckage, and an autopsy later confirmed he died from multiple blunt force injuries on impact. Toxicology tests showed no alcohol or drugs in his system. He was sober, alert, and physically capable. This shifted the investigation away from pilot impairment and toward the aircraft. The NTSB's final report, released in 1999, concluded that the crash was caused by a poorly placed fuel selector valve, Denver's attempt to switch fuel tanks mid-flight, his lack of transition training in the Long EZ, the aircraft's low altitude, giving him no margin for error. Investigators believe Denver likely realized one tank was running dry and attempted to reach the selector. But the awkward placement forced him to twist, causing an unintended control input that sent the plane into its fatal dive. John Denver's death shocked the world. A man who sang about the beauty of nature and the joy of flight died doing something he loved. But in an aircraft that was flawed, unfamiliar, and unforgiving. His crash led to renewed scrutiny of home-built aircraft, fuel selector placement, and transition training requirements for pilots switching to new aircraft types. But beyond the investigation, beyond the tragedy, remains the legacy of a man whose music still echoes across mountains, valleys, and open skies. John Denver once wrote, "I am the eagle, I live a high country." On that final day in 1997, he soared one last time, and the world has felt the silence ever since. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.